We've got a full agenda today, so we're going to get to it, and we're going to start with wins and recognitions. Once again, I'm Brian Dieter, and I'm happy to be here. Wins and recognition. Anybody? Let's go. Okay. If not, come on, there has to be something. Tammy, you have somebody with you today, don't you?
Yeah. This is Livia Taylor. She just started yesterday, recruitment experience intern. She's a healthcare management student at Iowa State.
Welcome. Anybody else? Okay, well then we're going to go on to the Zach and Ben show, and it's Zach today, huh? Okay, Zach, come on down.
They were $15 from Aldi. Those are my shoes. So I don't know if this is going to turn on or not, but I'll talk to you till it does, I suppose. So there we go. So today we're going to talk about credential theft. We're specifically going to look at an organization that's not in healthcare, but is really kind of illustrative of what we're going to talk about. So a couple stats there. So this is from 2024, but 11.4 million credential theft cases in 2024. What I mean by that is a password, username is included in credentials, but those were usually paired and taken unauthorized access using those credentials. From a sampling of a research company, they sampled millions of malwares from 2024 that was known in the wild that was being used. And 25% of those, about 25% of those really did target credentials. So they were just to steal credentials for initial access or persistence or to continue an attack. So it's a big attack vector. There's a saying in cybersecurity industry that attribution unknown, but that says attackers don't hack in, they log in. That's very true. So if they're going to go with those credentials, that's the easiest path is to get people's login, and then it's really undetectable because they're a trusted entity on that computer system. So looking at PowerSchool. So PowerSchool is a platform used for schools, public schools, that helps with enrollment for students, helps with scheduling for teachers. It's utilized really broadly in the United States. And so back in December, 18 through 28, there was unauthorized access to their web portal that faced the schools that were using it. This was, as far as we know, one threat actor. So it was an individual, unnamed threat actor. And they accessed this customer portal and actually got onto the back end of it. They stole 72 million records. Most of that was student records, really sensitive records. So Social Security, everything that financial information, all those kind of things. Little over 6,500 schools were impacted by this. Most of these schools were in Canada and the U.S. and usually bigger cities. So San Diego was one that lost a lot of records through this attack. And then it does look like PowerSchool, the threat actor claims that PowerSchool did pay them the extortion fee not to leak that information. So they didn't ransom their data. They didn't encrypt their data or lock it down. They just threatened to leak it publicly. And so it looks like PowerSchool did pay that to try to prevent that. Now, the interesting thing, why this is interesting, is the way that they actually accessed it was just through a maintenance access tool that they used for remote website support. They just stole the credentials for an administrative user and then logged on. So this is why it was undetected. And actually, I have August and September up there because during this investigation, the cybersecurity team that was investigating, they actually found there was also unauthorized access for about a month in August and September of last year. They couldn't find evidence of data being taken just because there weren't records going back that far. And it maybe wasn't even the same threat actor. So, but pretty sobering. So credentials are very, very, very valuable is really the takeaway here. So what do we want to do? We definitely want to make it harder for adversaries to do this, to steal credentials. And the really good golden area is make it easier for staff to manage credentials. That, in all honesty, is really hard to do in security. Usually you have more security. It's harder for the people that need to use that data. But password managers are really kind of that golden area. They're better for users, better for our staff, and make it harder for adversaries to steal credentials. So coming up in the next few months, we're actually going to roll out this 1Password application. It's a password manager application. We're really going to focus not quite on every single Mary Gurley employee. We're going to start with knowledge workers. What we mean by that is really workers that have more than one login that they need to utilize on the web. And then management. So you all will see this and hopefully become intimately familiar with this application as well. It's really easy to use. And what we're going to do over the next few months, you'll actually get an invitation to some training events. They'll be virtual, most of them, maybe all of them. And if you can't make it, we'll have recorded sessions you can use. And then you'll get an invite to actually use the application right in the web browser. So I have a demo here at the very end. And then in April, just to look ahead, we're going to do a security awareness campaign that does focus on hardening identities. So identity awareness, how do you manage identities? How can our staff do that personally? Watch their credit, monitor their credit, and use tools to do that that are accessible. So keep an eye out for that. Second thing kind of paired with that, also in the next few months, we're actually going to up our password expiration date. And by up, that's a good thing. We're going to actually lengthen it. So instead of 90 days, every 90 days you need to change your password, we're actually going to change that to 180 days. There's a lot of different reasons why, but the National Institute for Standards and Technology is a really, they've studied this a lot, and it's a mouthful to say, NIST. They actually have found there's evidence that when users have a longer password expiration, they actually credentials are a little bit safer. People don't take easy routes and make weak passwords as often. It just helps the overall experience and really makes things more secure. So we're excited about that because who likes to change it on that 91st day? I do not. So we're excited for that. One thing we're going to pair that with, though, because we are lengthening it, we will do more regular audits on password strength. What that means is we don't see passwords or credentials. We can't utilize them, but we have tools that will actually understand the strength of those passwords. And if they're weak, we'll be reaching out to users. To make sure it's
I care about right now. We're gonna.
I hope this is, but
He's gonna show a video of this pretty soon. They're gonna change passwords. Oh,
yeah. Okay, we've all been there. So anyway, get excited about that. If you have questions about 1Password, feel free to reach out to us. We will be reaching out to you. So look forward to that. So here's a demo. I'm going to play it here. So this is what it looks like when you're actually in the Chrome browser. And this is assuming, this video is assuming you haven't logged into 1Password yet. So you don't have to log in every time. This is what it looks like. So I have the icon pinned. Oh, it'll go there soon. I have the icon pinned on this web browser. That's what it looks like. So if you haven't logged in, you just click it. Maybe. There we go. We click it. And you'll just click sign on with Microsoft. So this is single sign on. You won't have to enter a password. Takes it a second here. There you go. So you're signed in, and it pops open so you can add stuff to it if you want. I already have some credentials added in there. And so you just click it. It recognizes the website I'm on, which I show you here. So it knows the website. I put it in there so it recognizes, hey, you can autofill here if you'd like. I never have to type it in. Just click it there and it does it for me. And then I submit and I'm in. So it makes it really, really quick. Oh, also, I forgot on that other slide. Nice thing about 1Password is there's also a family account with it. So our licenses, totally free for you to use. They include a family account, meaning personal accounts for every Mary Grilly employee that starts utilizing this. That's great because even if you don't think you'll use it really a ton here, I really encourage you to use it personally. You don't have to pay for it. It's completely separate. So we don't want you to leave Mary Grilly, but if anyone was ever to leave Mary Grilly and was using this, they have 30 days with 1Password to pay for it on their own or to move to another solution. And after that, they can't add any more to it, but they can still access and view their old passwords. And it's completely separate. So anything personal, you can put it, I think you can have up to 4 family members also use 1Password through that license. So that's great. You can use it personally. I'm actually going to take advantage of that. I hate the password manager I use. So you can talk to me about that after if you want. No, not to use. And so I'm really excited about 1Password. It's a great application. So any questions on that? All right, cool. Well, thank you all. Look forward to talking with you. Thank you.
That or no, switch.
I'm here to talk about the leadership resource site. So over the course of the last year, We've been working on the leadership resource site behind the scenes. So there was an intern in HR named Jackie Cleve. If anybody remembers Jackie, a lot of the stuff I'm talking about comes from Jackie Cleve. Jackie Hollingshead also helped with this first part. So back then, we started going through that old leadership resource site. And Jackie Cleve was going out and looking at every link and every piece of information, connecting that back to a director who would have put that information out there on that leadership resource site. And if that link was broken, she was taking it down. So I apologize that that EPSI link lived out there for so long. I'll take the blame for that, Lori. So it was stuff like that she was cleaning up. The fact that we had multiple years of FTE information hidden in the old leadership resource site, Jackie Cleve went through, cleaned all that information up, aligned just what you needed to see out there. The second half has been with Jessica and Jake and Penny and Ron, working to align the leadership resource site around the information which is most important to all of you when you're doing your jobs, right? So really meant to be a one-stop shop. Jessica's going to walk through it here in a second, but the links that you need to do your job on a regular basis, whether it's an HR link, something like Strata, anything connected with the strategic plan, big dot goals, those links are going to be out here. There is a process that we're going to go through when something needs to be added. Right? So if you have something that's very important for the entire management team, you feel like it needs to be added to the leadership resource site, we're going to provide that information to Penny, and Penny's going to take that through the HR advisory committee. And we'll get that information added on there. Why are we going through a committee? Well, just like the old leadership resource site was kind of free will. You push your stuff out there and then it's just going to live out there, right? We don't want it to be clogged up with all sorts of information that's either out of date, broken links, things like that. The second piece of this alignment of the new leadership resource site, the strategic plan, the annual plan, the big dot goals, and the business reviews are all going to be aligned, and you can see where different information fits within your day-to-day and how it rolls up to that 3-year strategic plan. The current business reviews are going to be posted on this leadership resource site. So right now, everybody has full access to all business reviews, but they live on the G Drive, and then they were shifted over to Teams, right? There will probably be some historical business reviews that live on Teams for a while, but the current business reviews are going to sit in this document. This is where you can go to read. This is also where you can go to find your own. We will try to work on, if there's a hot topic, if there's something that needs to be prioritized for your day-to-day, making sure that you can find that information here, you can find that link here to do each step in the process. So overall, we took the old leadership resource site, which was full of broken links and bad information and just a smattering of information, and have really tried to align that back to the strategic plan and the work that everyone here is doing on a day-to-day basis. Any questions here before I hand it off to Jessica to show off her great work? Right.
You're probably already familiar with how you access leadership resource site now. It lives on the Graham homepage. This link has been updated now, so it actually drives over to the new leadership resource site now. A lot of what you're going to find lives in this top navigation. Things are organized, as you can see, org excellence. There's an apps and systems, lots of stuff in staffing and workforce, and a few things in employee development. So that's where a bulk of the things from the old leadership resource site have transferred over into the main navigation. The visual part of the leadership resource site has really delved into the strategic plan and the operating goals. So you're going to see the 3-year plan, the annual plan, and the business reviews are all here at the top. The dashboard of indicators, which is what drives all of the big dot goals, is linked on here. That's One of the things we're trying to do with SharePoint is drive down to one source of truth. So that lives on the quality site. So that links over to the quality site so that we're maintaining it in one place and not in 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 or however many. So that's always there. Business reviews, the template is there right now at the top. I'm going to show you this in a second, but this links into the business reviews. I'm going to jump down a little further first. This jumps into all the big dot goals. So there's a navigation bar in blue that lets you jump to the specific big dot goal that you're looking for. Otherwise, if you just scroll vertically, it runs in. You're going to see the big dot goal with the current number and the 90-day action plan on the left. And then on the right is the resources that align with that big dot goal. These are all determined by the Big Dot Goal committees. So if you think that there's a resource that should be there, that's who's going to own those resources and who's going to be the keeper of what content goes there. So that's kind of how all these work. Most of them are links out to other resources. So you can just scroll through and get access to whatever you happen to need access to on them. You're going to see more of this here this afternoon. So I'm not going to go through a ton of it. I'm going to highlight apps and systems first. This has been moved over to a SharePoint list. So on Graham Live, we have an apps and systems link. This one is apps and systems for leaders. So these are things that are applicable to you guys and what you're going to run. On the left is the link to the resource. So if you want a direct link to it, it's right there. Purpose, what we use it for, is in this next column. What big dot goal does it align to is the third column, and then who the subject matter expert is the fourth column, and the fifth column, because we are creatures of habit, we have lots of names for lots of systems that are old. We've added some of the alternate names, so like UKG is Chronos or Dimensions, so those have been listed underneath Chronos and Dimensions down here at the bottom. So you can run through that. One of the cool features about doing a SharePoint list, you can actually search within the list. So if I don't know what I'm looking for, I just jump up in the search bar, I can search for something and it'll drive me to results just within this apps and systems list. Okay. All right. Business reviews. These are links that live directly inside of SharePoint. Business reviews are going to move to Teams. We use the web app and show here quick. We've added a channel to the leadership resource team for business reviews, okay? I have not migrated them yet because I know that there is some angsty when we move things and people don't know where they went. So everything is currently still living in G Drive right now. They will be migrated this afternoon over to Teams. They're going to live in this business review channel under files. We're going to organize them by fiscal year first and then by department. So it's a slight change in how they're organized now, but I think this will help everyone going forward. I've pinned the current year business reviews, and then the historical lives below it. And then I'll click into, you'll see how they're listed. And I'm in community relations, so I moved over Steve's quick so that you can see that they're the Excel documents. You'll be able to click directly on the Excel document and edit and do whatever you want to the files there natively through Teams. Okay. Last thing I'm going to show that Penny has driven, there was a big calendar for organizational dates. We've also moved that over to a SharePoint list so that it doesn't have to live in an Excel document where everyone has to download it. It'll always live out on the leadership resource site. In date order right now, there's a list view, which my understanding is the preferred view. People who like lists are crazy because I much prefer calendar view. If you prefer that view's here too, but it's going to default to a list view. They've been color coded to align with meetings, holidays, recognition events, things that are our deadlines have been highlighted in red. So I will finish filling out the rest of this calendar because we just heard back from the HR advisory committee that they liked this idea. If you feel compelled to download this, you are welcome to do it straight from here. You can export it and have a copy of your own on your own desktop. All right, that was a lot and I'm fast. Questions?
You know, for the calendar, I don't know who knows the answer, like who's updating and making that current?
You are.
Look at that. Gary?
Yeah.
Okay,
No.
I'll have some stuff in there.
So it was an annual document, so I anticipate that annually it will get updated and then we'll plug in events as needed. Who
And that-
specifically is whoever has access to edit the site right now.
And so if there are things that aren't on here that you'd like to see, let me know, because we can adjust this and continue to, this is a continuous improvement journey. So we're starting here, know that there are probably other things that would be helpful. But we also don't want to let it turn into a dumping ground like our old site got to where it was not useful anymore. So I will use that Leader HR Advisory Group to really look at what we've put on here, what changes, that annual calendar, to make sure that we're keeping it focused and actually usable for everybody.
Questions? All right.
So you can leave it. Yeah, so one thing I wanted to point out that Jessica didn't get in here is our search function. So I think last time either it was LI or management team, it was kind of questioned, hey, why doesn't search work as well on new SharePoint as it does in old? So we did some digging. We actually found out our tenant was defaultly searching by just that specific site that you were on and not the whole organization. So we've made this change for the leadership site today, but so you can see here, instead of saying search this site, it says search in SharePoint. So if you're on the leadership site and you search in SharePoint, you're going to see anything that's in SharePoint online. So there might still be some resources that are on old SharePoint you can't see quite yet because we're still migrating those, but hopefully this gives you a better experience with search. We will be applying this setting change to Graham Live tomorrow in the morning as well. So that way it's not just a leadership functionality, it can be applied broadly to the organization. So just wanted to touch on that quick. My part in this is gonna be very quick as well. So let me just switch to the PowerPoint. Kind of wanted to touch on. I wanted to do a quick reminder on what are our M365 tools used for as we continue driving you guys into the new leadership site. But also to kind of talk a little bit about those business reviews and why we think Teams is the right place for them. So when we think about OneDrive, remember, this is kind of where your files are, where you create and you draft. Teams is where you create and collaborate. So that is really why we're thinking business reviews fit perfectly there, because they're more of a collaboration and not just a drafting phase. If you're drafting it first though, and before you put it there, especially as we move towards, fiscal year 26, I think that's appropriate, right? But once it's in the collaboration phase, this is really where we want those documents. And then publish, right? That's where we publish our changes, is in SharePoint. And this part really has resonated with a lot of people, so I like to keep on plugging this, is remember, SharePoint is a point to share your published work. Any questions? Okay, that's all.
Okay, I have one last caveat and then I will be out of your hair for the day. Because we are creatures of habit and everyone likes access to old SharePoint, there is a very tiny link at the bottom of the leadership resource site temporarily for you to access old SharePoint if there's anything that you happen to need from there. We are preparing to decommission old SharePoint here in the next probably 4 to 5 months. So data that's there won't be gone. It won't be as easily accessible. So just know that for now. So if you need to get there, tiny little link at the bottom of the page.
If you use that link, please let Penny know what was missing, so that way we can get it added, because we don't want you guys to keep going to that old resource. And I will say, I think that link is going to be short-lived. So keep that in mind as well.
It's not you.
So over the past year or so, Michael and Catherine have been taking every Tableau report and they've been transitioning those reports from Tableau into Power BI. Why did we have them do that? Well, it all has to do with Power BI fitting better into Mary Greeley's system and the way that we have all of our applications within one suite of tools, which is Microsoft 365. Microsoft 365, right? So Michael and Catherine have been working very hard to take that Tableau information that you might have accessed through the old leadership site or through Epic. They've rebuilt all of those reports, and we're slowly going to turn on, well, actually, it's not slowly at this point. We have actually slowly been doing that transition and transitioning those clinical reports, as well as reports like Michael's going to show you, from Tableau to Power BI. At this level today, you shouldn't feel much different. But know that Michael's here to talk about what is the culmination of a year's worth of work, and that we are formally transitioning from Tableau over to Power BI.
Thanks, AJ. Yeah, kind of broadly, Tableau is just, it's a lot of things, but mainly for you guys, it was a visualization tool to see reports and dashboards and things. Like AJ said, Power BI is sort of ingrained in the M365, so it makes sense to use a tool that we already have instead of having another third-party system. Overall, the changes, the data is the same. It's just more the visuals and just how you navigate the page that are slightly different. So in Catherine's turnover dashboard, once it loads, you'll kind of see those visual changes right away, where in Tableau, you kind of had tabs across the top. Here, you just see them on the side. When you want to access a different view or a different report, you just navigate to the side. And again, the filters, same filters that were there before, just located on a different side of the page, but they function the same if you're wanting to adjust the data based on a different filter. So that is sort of Power BI, like the changes that you'll see right away that really impact you. One of the great tools of Power BI is just functionality of being able to share it within our organization and with the leadership team. If you're familiar with Excel pivot tables at sort of a kind of rudimentary level, Power BI is kind of like that. You could take something that you would normally maybe put into Excel that you can't really share very easily, or you don't really see a lot of vision history. You can make it very dynamic by putting it into Power BI, and you can share it with your fellow leaders. That sort of training can be done with your BI partner. As we are transitioning this content that we have or that you have used in the past, we can line up some of that training with you during those meetings. A lot of the links that were Tableau, once we get that content updated into Power BI, those links will become pointing to the Power BI content. Some of the clinical data that some people use, like Chris Mayfield and Kevin, that were accessible in Epic, that link to Tableau, once those are in Power BI, those links will still work and just take you to Power BI. Again, the data is the same, it's just a lot of the visuals here. And right now, people that have access to Power BI are management team. There's a few others on your team, such as clinical resource nurses or some other knowledge workers that have indicated the need for it. But right now, with the Power BI links on the leadership resource site, anyone that's in that leadership directory will be able to click and open these reports that Catherine has transitioned to Power BI away from Tableau. But it's a very dynamic tool. I'd say it's a little faster than Tableau, given that it's sort of embedded in our 365 work. So you'll kind of see that indicator as just, the little icon of Power BI to know that it's a Power BI report and not Tableau or Excel. But again, that information, once you try to use Power BI and get a little training from your BI partner, I think you'll find it really handy, and you can make some really nice reports and share it very easily and make a lot of great decisions based on kind of trends and information that you're looking at. Questions about sort of how to navigate, these filters or on the side?
And I know at one point there was something about accessing within Tableau. Can anyone access this on the leadership team? We don't have to worry about license. People can get in, view it, do what they need.
Right now, all the leadership team has been licensed for Power BI, so they would be able to navigate to the app on 365, and it would launch Power BI. So then you could take, like I said, you could link to an Excel file and make that into a Power BI report that then you could just hit the share button and share that. You know, if you made something, you could share it with Brian or Karen or Gary, and you see version history and have just one like true source document. So right now, yeah, leadership all have licenses, along with a few others, some knowledge workers and some various clinical CRNs or people that have been identified as that should have access. So. Thank you.
Tammy.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm going to talk about our upcoming annual engagement survey. So that time of year, I'm going to share with you a few resources, the timeline, kind of some whys behind the what, and then some fun things that we can do to encourage participation. So one main thing that I would just start with, and I'll show you the timeline here. So last year we conducted the employee engagement survey through Press Ganey for the first time, and we did it in May. So it was May 6th through the 26th. And you'll notice that this year it is earlier. So some reasoning behind that really has to do with backing up when we take the survey, when we're going to get the results, when we'll get our report out from Press Ganey, when we can do action planning, all of that leading to the end of June so that by July 1 with the new fiscal year, we're ready to go. We have the information that we need. So it makes a lot of sense when we look at it that way in terms of the timing. We know that there are a lot of other things going on during this time period, but wanted to provide really why we're choosing to do that and working with Press Ganey on that. So you'll see the survey kicks off March 31st. So that's Monday. The email will go out at 7 a.m. I'll show you what that email looks like. It will come from Press Ganey. We did the testing. It came through just fine. 7 a.m., I think I mentioned, is when that gets kicked off. So it's open for 3 weeks. There will be lots of signage, which I'll show you throughout the buildings and the elevators to encourage and remind people. May 20th is when Press Ganey will be on site and they will come to our management team meeting. They did this last year in the summer, I think June or July, when we had Leadership Institute. So they will be on site. Tracy, that you might remember, will be back and sharing with us our results, as well as getting us kicked off for action planning and how we go about doing that. Something new this year, so we're still utilizing Press Ganey. That does not change and remains the same, but it is a different platform. So the platform that you're going to go to is going to look a little bit different. Good news is it is a single sign-on, so you'll be able to access it without having to remember a password or putting it in 1Password. Is that what it was called? Yes, 1Password. Okay. I was listening during that part. So there will be, so stay tuned for how to utilize that platform. Tracy and I have been talking about, is that going to be a lot different? Is it going to be more training involved? And she has assured us that it's intuitive. It will look different, but there will be training. And I put a resource out there for all of you to look at so that you can get an idea of the different pages that are involved. And I'll show you a screenshot of what it looks like as well. So right after we get the results and you have time to ask any questions that you might have about those results, we will kick off action planning. So similar to what we did last year with department-specific action planning, where you and all of the folks in your areas had a hand and had a part in what do we want to do better, what do we want to maintain, how do we want to improve. So that will get kicked off right after management team, as well as any tools and resources that you would need to do that. So very similar to what you're going to see from last year. And then probably don't need a reminder, but in July is when we kick off the new fiscal year. Reason for that is we'll be all done with our action planning, ready to go and move forward with our new fiscal year and what we're going to achieve in that year. So those are the key dates. Quick few things about the survey administration. So each employee will get an individual link. So again, they will be asked, and it will say in the email, do not share the link. So if Evan calls me and says, I forgot, I can't find my link for some reason, or I accidentally deleted it, I can't find it. If I share my link with her and she takes the survey, then I am not able to take the survey. So that's why we don't want to share it. So each of those is an individual link. I will reiterate that that does not mean an individual link means those results are tied to that person. Press Ganey is the only individuals that are able to see the results tied to that. So we do not see that. Something that is kind of exciting and maybe a satisfier for a lot of people is there is a QR code that will be available this year. So there will be posters that will have the QR code, flyers that have the QR code throughout the building and for you to share with staff. And that QR code allows someone to easily, if they're used to utilizing their phone, they can scan it and take the survey right there on their phone if they want to. The thinking behind that really has to do with, we had 90% participation last year. We realize it's going to be hard to do better than that, right? But we're Mary Greeley and we will strive to do better. So that is one way that we can make it easier for people to take that survey. So, and that will be at any time. They won't have to worry about going back to their email or checking their email. As they're taking surveys, as you can see there, you can stop where you're at, leave, go get lunch, come back, and it'll take you right to where you left off. So that is kind of nice to be able to do that. Reminder emails are sent out each week that the survey is open once a week at 7 a.m. and it will only go to those who have not submitted the survey. So you could start the survey, walk away and not come back to it. That doesn't count as submitted and won't count as a result. Once you click on the submit button at the end of the survey, that's when you're going to get that. So reminder emails will go to staff that have not completed it. Okay. Here's the number of questions. So this is pretty similar to last year. There are some additional questions that really relate to psychological safety, overall safety, inclusion. So there are more questions, not so significant that someone is going to say, why are there so many more questions? So that really probably won't be as noticeable to the staff. But it is out there that the total number of questions for employees that are non-nursing is 49. Those in nursing, because of the nursing excellence questions, is going to be 73. So still an estimate of about 10 to 15 seconds per question. So 10 to 15 minutes to complete the survey, approximately. This is just an example of what it looks like. So I just wanted to give you an idea of at the top, you're going to see that trusted in green. That it can help them identify that this is legitimate. So it gives them, this is an example of the reminder email it looks like, and just who it comes from. Up at the top, you can see the highlighted email of where the email is coming from so that they know that that is safe to take. gives them some key things about how to take the survey, who to call if they have questions. Prior to the email from Press Ganey coming out at 7 a.m. on Monday, the 31st, there's going to be an email from Brian that will come out, I believe, tomorrow, that will go to all employees. Right, Brian? You got that already?
You got that.
Oh, okay, yeah. So that will come out on Wednesday, tomorrow, just so that employees know the importance of it, why we want you to take it, the purpose of it. So that email will come out, and in that email from Brian, it will say the email will come from Press Ganey, and this is what it looks like. So this is just an example of that reminder. This is an example of just what the questions, what the rating looks like. So these are just 3 random questions that are in there, so they can rate just like last year. Strongly agree, strongly disagree to strongly agree. So sample of what that looks like. All they have to do is click on each one to choose their response. There are lots of resources for you. So we just saw the leadership resource site. I'll take you out there so that you can see. But all of these things will be that one-stop shop for you. So the timeline is out there. There's a list of the survey questions. Any ideas why you might utilize the survey questions prior to the survey launching? Any ideas what you could do with them, who you might tell? Emily is doing something that I'm not good at charades. I don't know. What was that?
I like you spoon feeding the answers to us.
You like it when I'm feeding the answers? Oh, I am feeding the answers. Like,
Maybe.
who in your area that you work with might you tell about the survey questions? Your employees, right? So that's out there. Very similar to those I-round questions that we have that are available at any point. That would be the same type of thing. Show them the questions, print the questions, let them take a look at it so that they can prepare for what they're going to see when they take that survey. There's some FAQs out there. Oh, Emily, this is what you were talking about. It says share with the staff. I didn't notice that. FAQs, a talking point document for you, and then we'll talk about some incentives. I'm with you. It's fine. It's fine. This might be a good incentive. Is Joelle, do you want me to zoom in on any of this?
No, thanks.
So I'm going to just back up 1 second. So let's talk about incentives. What was the participation percent that we had last year?
Percent.
What do we want to do? We want to improve, right? And so that might involve all of us being creative within our areas. What can we do to encourage participation? So I know a lot of you have shared some ideas. Evan was going to send me a picture of herself and then she didn't. So then I thought maybe you'd come dressed as a bear today, but no. So Evan is willing to dress as a bear for any department that gets better than they did last year. Actually, we like to do options. So if you don't want Evan to dress as a bear, she will bring in as many kittens as you would like. And where's Melanie? Is Melanie Borstein here? Yeah. So Melanie really likes cats. Right? Like, right, Amy? Where's Amy? Yes.
If we do better, I'll wear an Iowa State something for the next day.
Okay. Penny, can you capture that idea? Okay. We'll do something. So lots of different ideas. Some of the things that all of you had shared was maybe have a coffee bar for everyone or some kind of breakfast bar. Complete the survey, put your name in a drawing for a small prize. It could be a gift card, it could be a pack of gum, it could be a candy bar, something like that. Set a goal to try to beat from last year. Have donuts, cookies, cupcakes, serve breakfast, do a drawing, or you can dress like breakfast and serve your staff. So are these costumes available?
No idea.
Joelle, are the costumes available?
I still have my egg one.
Okay. I didn't know if you were trying to not make eye contact with me. I love this picture. And it didn't take you very long to find it when I asked you about it.
not have it. I had to text Amanda for it.
Oh, okay. Well, it's super cute. So we can do that again. So be creative. There is incentive for all of us as an organization. So we'll draw 6 random, Press Ganey actually will draw 6 random people that have completed and submitted the survey. Those 6 individuals have their choice of a gift card, a $50 gift card, or $50 apparel store credit. So they can choose which one they would prefer. So those will be 6 random drawings. We will also be doing something for those departments that achieve 100% participation of their eligible staff. So if you have people out on leave, they will be removed from the equation. But those that are eligible, so if you get to 100%, there will also be incentive for that. So just an idea to get you thinking. So talk amongst yourselves, think about what would be something unique. Do you want to see Scott dressed up in Iowa State stuff, or Evan in a bear, or do you want to have a bucket of kittens come to each department? I mean, Evan, you'd be up for helping with any of those, right? Yes. So I'm going to go to your resources page real quick, but I just wanted to give you a quick glance. There will be more to come about this because it is new. We haven't necessarily seen it live yet. So this is not for Mary Greeley. It's for another organization. But when you log into Press Ganey, this is what you will see. So you'll be able to tell how many people did it go to in my department, how many people have participated, have completed the survey. Not who, but how many have completed the survey. So this will kind of just be your one-stop shop. I think it was Matt Peterson that asked the question, if we want to do some kind of incentive in our area and we want to do better than last year, how do we know what we did last year? So you can still log into the portal from last year's survey, 2024, and you can see that information. But the new portal is where you're going to see this type of information. If you want to see your action plans from last year, the old or previous, let's just call it previous portal that you still have access to will be out there. Okay. Okay, so let me show you real quick. So this is the leadership resource site that they showed earlier. Right here under the big dot goal for enhanced workforce engagement is going to be all of your resources for the engagement survey. So right here is where you're going to see at a glance, maybe information that you might want to share with staff. You will all also receive a document that looks like this in your inboxes. This has the QR code, so it's not eligible to be shared yet, but you will have this by Monday when the survey launches and kicks off. So you'll see that here. This will be, I'll add to this, but this right now is the previous platform. There'll be another login where you'll be able to log into the new platform. So you're going to see 2 different platform logins there. These are your different topics. So here's those survey questions. This is something you can print out. You can share however you would like to. Shows you the different questions. Got your timeline. I'm going to back up a page here.
Tammy, I have a question about the questions. When we as leaders answer the questions, do our answers go into like our responses for our departments, or are they pulled out for like a leadership group? Like if it says like I have the tools to do my job and I put like as a director answering it like no or somewhat disagree, does that go in like my birthways department?
So the answer to that is yes. And it also goes org, like we'll be able to see your response, obviously, org wide. But go ahead.
Yeah, and so we can also drill into leaders. So we can do a filter that'll get us to how are our leaders doing, just like we can get to employees with less than 1 year of experience, employees with 30 years of experience. So we have different demographic cuts. If it's less than 5 responses or 3.
Less than 3.
Less than 3 responses, we won't get any data because that's too small of a sample size. But otherwise, we do have demographic cuts that we can get also.
But the leader is included in the 3,
Yes.
and that's different than last year?
Shouldn't be different than last year. Did you not, I mean, we can
We'll
look at that. It should not be different. It should be in that department or in that unit. So if that's something different, Melissa.
Confusion around unit reporting versus leader reporting. So if I ran a report on a unit, I could see the whole unit. If I ran a report for just my departments, it wouldn't include me in my department. It'd just include everybody else. So I could see what that looked like from a leader perspective. So there is a little bit of hinkiness there. And I know that was confusing last year.
Yeah, that might be what.
I also know it's a technical term.
I've heard that technical term. You like it?
What was the word that Penny used?
We're not gonna.
Oh, hinkiness. Okay, write that down. Okay. Yeah, we can chat about that to make sure, like, and we can talk to Dylan and we can look at the hierarchy and what, so that we can show you that. Yeah. Stacy, does that answer your question too? Okay. There is also an FAQ out here. So this is just your ability to be able to go out and look at any question that you might be thinking, things that I anticipated you might be wondering about. And you can always go back to this. You can, this is something that is on the HR page. So I'm showing you this from the leadership resource site, but this lives on the HR page. So all of this that I'm showing you, all of our employees can see this, right? So you don't just have to have access to that. So you can definitely refer employees to that. So here's just some common questions that you might see. There is one last thing that is leader talking points, and we're getting this on here, but there's another document that you'll be able to use, and it basically allows you to talk with your staff to remind them, what did we do in the last year? What are some changes that we made? What did we implement because of your feedback from the survey? So it gives you a chance to do that really good reflection with all of them. What have we celebrated? What have we done differently? And then it also gives you a chance to brainstorm with your staff. What can we do to encourage you to participate? So that's something that will also be shared with all of you, and you'll have that by Monday as well. Last thing that I really want to share is just that you're going to see on Monday morning, our intern Maddie is working on this. So there'll be a kickoff on Monday morning in the Skywalk area and also the West employee entrance. I don't know if that's how you're supposed to spell donut when you say do not forget. So you get the idea. So there'll be donuts available for everyone along with the signage and reminders, purpose of taking the survey, just to welcome our employees, greet them, and remind them about taking the survey. So that is starting. Donuts are delivered at 6:30 a.m. on Monday, so I bet they'll be fresh. So that will be out there in the morning as well. What questions do you have about the survey that I can answer? Yeah.
The QR code, is that going to be, since everybody has an individual?
Yeah.
Do they have to log in and put their information?
Yeah, I didn't say anything about that, so I'm glad that you asked. The QR code is going to require people to put in what Press Ganey calls a known password, and it will prompt them to put in their ID number or their badge number. So they'll need to put that in order to take the survey. Okay. Did I say something wrong?
He's got another.
I cannot wait for your feedback.
Okay, that's great. Okay, AJ, are you up next? No? Okay.
They're bucket of kids. Bye.
Okay, thanks everyone.
Big Dog Gold teams. Oh, but there's gonna be Joyce too.
You wanna, are you gonna do workforce first?
Oh.
I don't know where I'm at, and I'm last, I think, so there's something.
Agenda. I don't even see the agenda on here.
I mean, that's.
Joelle, you want to talk about Big Dog goals? Action plan? Okay, whoops. Oh my gosh, what am I opening?
DJ to introduce us.
Oh,
Do that.
AJ?
Yeah.
Still doesn't want to do it. Okay. Let's go forward. Okay, yeah, let's just hang out. Tammy will be back shortly. So you saw on the new leadership resource site that we have an area dedicated to the Big Dot goals. So this is where you will now find the 90-day action plans, and you will now find them before the first day of the new quarter. So that's an improvement. The Big Dot Goal teams will make sure that these are out there, finalized, and available to all of you. There is an approval process with the executive admin team. So that is something that moving forward we won't bog down the process by putting those out there after the quarter has started. So our apologies if that has kept you from getting started as early as you'd like. So as Tammy showed for workforce, there are lots of resources available for each of the Big Dot goals. The nice thing about the preventable harm and the patient experience 90-day action plans is that they are very similar to what they were last quarter. Good news, bad news. We aren't quite where we want to be with the goals that we set. So there will be a continuation of what the Big Dot goal teams and the leadership team had suggested and supported in terms of how we're going to move the needle on preventable harm and patient experience. So not quite where we want to be, but the good news is there's not going to be a lot of disruption in what we're focusing on. And that's a really great way to end the fiscal year. It's just a continuation and continuing to get better at getting better. So for preventable harm, we'll continue to focus, I'll maybe go backwards, focus on CODI prevention, making sure that we are consistently implementing the prevention bundle items, as well as hand hygiene compliance. We do still see pockets where we need to continue to be consistent with both of those things. We have reduced our catheter-associated urinary tract infections by about 50%, which is an improvement from last year, but still an opportunity for us as an organization. And hand hygiene is foundational to every type of hospital-acquired infection. And then purposeful hourly rounding, just to anticipate needs as much as possible so that we can prevent patients from falling. We know that we will not be able to prevent every single fall, particularly the falls where we're assisting patients. But the unassisted falls that we've experienced this fiscal year that have resulted in major injury, every patient was trying to go to the bathroom. And so we know that there's an opportunity there to anticipate those needs and prevent them from getting up on their own. So in order to do that, we're going to continue on with the work that we started last quarter. We do have a Huddle Board companion flyer. Amy Dagestad pulled a subgroup together to focus on messaging around purposeful hourly rounding so that it's consistent. Everybody knows what the expectations are. We created a Huddle Board companion flyer that is out on the leadership resource site so that support departments and direct care departments all know what is included in a purposeful hourly round and when they need to be completed. And then outside of that, we know that it's hard to get to every single patient every single hour. And we also want our clinical staff to be able to use critical thinking and prioritize patients as they need to, and not every patient is going to need us to be in there every hour. And there may be some patients that need us to be in there more often than that. And so Michael, and I'm glad he gets to be here today to hear this, Michael has done an immense amount of work vetting an EPIC predictive fall tool that has really been in the background for years to help us take the Hester Davis fall risk score a step further and identify which patients are really at the highest risk for suffering an injury, a major injury if they fall. And so that's taking into account the clinical information, the assessment, their clinical status, and the medications that they're receiving, which we know is a barrier right now in terms of how much historical information do our nurses really know at the beginning of their shift when some of those falls with major injury are happening. And so, Michael's done a ton of work already cross-referencing patients who have experienced a fall in the hospital, and so we can pull that we have pulled that information from MIDAS and cross-referenced. Would we have been able to predict those falls before the patient fell? And certainly some of those patients have come back in the meantime. So that will allow us to prioritize which patients we need to round on first. And then that way we're working smarter instead of harder. So that work will continue, and we'd love to see that incorporated into the patient safety dashboard. And that is all to be determined. Outside of that, the one thing that you'll see that is a new addition to the action plan is we've completed an organizational safety culture assessment through the Institute for Healthcare Improvement. That's called the NAPS survey, or the National Action Plan to Advance Safety. Patient safety is where the P in NAPS comes from. And Amy Stark and I have co-led this initiative. And it's really looking at safety culture and the systems and processes that we have in place to really support patient safety rather than focusing just on individual events of harm and that whack-a-mole mentality, and looking at, do we have the processes in place to identify where our greatest risks are and then how to approach those. And so step one was to complete the survey and to review those results. The survey has been completed. We have not yet reviewed those results widely. But then once we do, you heard from Tammy that there's a patient safety culture component of the employee engagement survey. So we'll cross-reference those results with what we're hearing from the employees related to patient safety culture, which we have done every 2 years in the past and now do annually with Press Ganey. And then we'll review and assign work groups for action planning. So there's lots of different components starting at leadership and governance, but it goes all the way to how we learn and improve our systems related to safety. And all of that work will be started by the end of this fiscal year and as we move into our next 3-year strategic plan. Any questions about safety before we move on to patient experience? And there's a lot of similarities, so I won't talk quite as long. Okay. Cool. All right. So patient experience, really our patient experience information has told us what our patients prioritize. And I think I've talked in front of this group about our customer requirements. Communication and timeliness remain the most important to our patients. And when we talk about communication, when we look at the key drivers reports, if some of you have accessed those within the Press Ganey system, it's courtesy and respect as a foundation to everything else that we do. And so just continuing to make sure that we're consistent in AIDIT in how we do bedside shift report and include our patients in that discussion, and then purposeful hourly rounding for both safety and patient experience. So we're going to continue to hardwire those. We see that as an opportunity in the areas that aren't quite at goal for patient experience. And overall, we're at the 76th percentile for our regulatory areas, and that's the CAPS surveys. And then for all of our other areas, we're at the 68th, and our goal for both areas this year was the 73rd. So we're pretty close to meeting goals in both areas, and where we have opportunities, it's around consistency and communication. And so that's not something that we have to reinvent, but just continue to hardwire. And then Also, tying in the National Action Plan, we're going to focus results related to patient and family engagement and co-designing safety. And that means not only focusing on the safety of our patients while they're in the hospital, because they can't have a good experience if they're harmed while they're here, but also safety is how well they're prepared to go home and take care of themselves and not experience a complication or not get readmitted because there was something that they didn't know that they should have known about their care. And so we're engaging the Big Dot Goal team, as well as the Shared Governance Council and our PFAC, and how we can do that better moving forward. So that is patient experience. Questions? Hi. Okay. I'm going to make this a little bigger so that you can see it. Does that feel better? So this one for workforce engagement, Big Dot Goal looks just a little bit different in terms of the things that we measure and track. I do want to point out one quick thing. As Joelle was talking about patient experience, we can feel really good about some changes that we've made in new hire orientation. And Joelle has been a big part of that by going over the ADIT. We're talking so much more about threading all of our roles and new employees into how that impacts that patient experience, even if we don't work directly with and take care of patients. So kudos to that change. And I think that makes a big difference. So for enhanced workforce engagement, our annual goal is always listed up here for the quarterly action plan. So you'll see that our goal for an annual goal was to improve in 3 of the 6 engagement indicator questions that are in that survey. The Pulse survey gave us kind of a temperature check of where we're at. And so it showed that we improved in all of the areas, I think, with the exception of one very slight lower. So we won't really know how we're doing with this goal until after we get the results from this new engagement survey that we'll launch next Monday. So that will change, but it still remains the same, that our goal is to improve in 3 of those 6 areas. And those are the 6 engagement indicator questions. They are listed on the flyer for you to be able to print so that you can see those. So here you just have things that we are doing as an organization. We collaborate with the Employee Advisory Committee to get their feedback, get their ideas, what should be on here, what should we be thinking of. So they did a great job and provided lots of good insight onto what should we be showcasing that the organization is doing. One thing that was missing off of here when we showed them last week was the safety fair, and they felt like, aren't we doing all of these things to improve safety? And it's one of our Big Dot goals. It's something that we measure, and so we added that on there. And so this is a visibility point for employees to know all of the different things that we're offering to employees for their own professional development. So engagement surveys on there, performance review actions are due. Another item that the Employee Advisory Committee suggested was make it visible that during the months of April to June, what is happening regarding the benchmarking and the raise review. So we don't have employee updates again until July. And so there's a big period of time when staff, all of us, are not hearing about that. We heard about it in the last employee updates, but we felt like it was important to list it here. And then this is really what can you also do, events and recognition. So this is encourage participation, encourage attendance at these different events. We know that this is not an all-encompassing list of every single thing that we do to celebrate and recognize our staff. So certainly these are maybe some more of the org-wide types of things, but there are other ways that you can see that through our recognition calendar, the Graham, Viva Engage, to see all of the things that we can do to celebrate. So that is the one for enhanced workforce engagement. And then Gary, are you gonna, AJ, just who?
Are you looking at me? I could read it.
You can do it.
I could read it.
So as Gary is making his way up here, these are ready to go and ready to be printed, right? So you want to show the PDF?
Mhm.
Okay, here you go.
Please.
I didn't double.
Okay, so I'll do the same thing here. Make that a little bit bigger. So operating margin, one of the things a little bit unique about operating margin, although there are some similarities too in terms of carryover, is a lot of the things that we've been focused on in previous quarters is going to continue. You can see up there the productivity, which AJ helped roll out earlier this year in Strata. We want that to continue in terms of having leaders document and have feedback with their one-up on where they're at relative to productivity. The second item on the list, Solventum, which is formerly 3M, we did go live with that tool set at the end of January. We had already, the clinical documentation nurses had already been using the tool since last fall. What went live officially was the computer assisted coding. And so part of what that's going to allow us to do is eventually, I think, I put it in as a goal, Vicki, you can confirm it or not, eliminate all contracted coding by the end of this year, by June 30th. We shut it off early when we went live thinking we would get by, and then all of a sudden we started falling behind. So we've re-engaged some contract coding while the team gets up to speed on that tool. This uses generative AI, and so it's helping code, suggest codes for the coders to use so that they can verify without having to go through all the documentation itself. On the CDI side, our first 3 months of using that with the CDI nurses and the physician responses was improving our revenue to the tune of about $936,000 in the first 3 months. So has a pretty significant impact. We continue to work on the financial assistance module in Epic. That has a targeted go live date of May 21st. From what I've seen in Smartsheet, that seems to be on track and we're making progress there. And then we continue the waste walks. There's a lot of good things that are happening in KaiNexus. I know several of us now have gotten into the habit loops with KaiNexus. Karen kind of got us started, and I've been involved now, Scott, Amy, others. And it's kind of interesting. We can see it's fully transparent. You can see what every area is doing, and there's a lot of good work that's already happened there as well. And then lastly, I put the 45% in there, and I don't know who offered that up last quarter, achieving an accurate estimated date of discharge. Does anybody know how we're doing today?
34%.
We're at 34.
That's big gold star standard.
So maybe we should keep the 40% that was in there last quarter. That would be, okay, so we'll make that change. We'll make it 40% by the end of June. And then the last thing I probably should have put on here, Lori, is we also have a goal of completing a fiscal 26 budget in this quarter, correct? Okay. Any questions? All right. Now who's up?
AJ. Evan.
Evan.
Bring us home.
Please, they say, bring us home.
All right.
There's been lots of discussion over the last few months about downtimes as well as business continuity within Epic. So we wanted to give a little bit more detail here and continue those conversations so everyone's aware when to use those tools and why. So BCA, if you hear that, it stands for Business Continuity Access. Everything I'm going to tell you today and that's in these PowerPoints is being pulled from the Epic downtime policies and procedures. So General 068, General 069, which should be part of the monthly checklist for units and departments. Epic BCA, it helps us to take care of our patients with pertinent information when our systems are down or unavailable. There's two different types of BCA instances that we talk about, which is where I think some of the confusion lies. When to use which, right? So there's BCA Web. Every Epic workstation, and when I say Epic workstation, if you use it to take care of a patient in your department, schedule a patient in your department, that's an Epic workstation. So your Epic workstation should all have the icon at the bottom of this slide for Epic BCA. That's BCA Web. The web needs the internet to run. So you can pull up BCA reports for your patients when we have internet access from any Epic workstation. If we don't have internet access, that is when your designated BCA device or workstation within your departments, we have 27 total in the hospital, is where those reports will be generated. So we don't have internet. You want to go to that specific designated workstation to get your Epic static reports. You don't have a BCA device and you think you should have one, please reach out and we'll figure that out for you all. So internet available and I need my downtime procedures, which my downtime reports, I can go to any Epic workstation and click on the BCA web, log in and find my reports. If we don't have internet and we need downtime reports, go to your designated Epic workstation for BCA. So Epic downtime tools. So again, BCA designated workstation should all be plugged into a red outlet. If power's out, then obviously we have an issue there, but those should always be up and running. BCA web icon, like I said, that's on all Epic workstations and it needs the internet to run. We also have something called shadow read only. Anytime you pull up an Epic instance, so you go to log into production every day, there's a list of environments that come up on the screen. SRO or shadow read only is an option for everybody. Shadow read only is not available if we have interruption between the Epic production server and our network. So any planned downtimes that we have, so like our monthly updates or our quarterly upgrades, SRO is available. SRO is a copy of the live environment 10 minutes prior to the downtime. You can log in and see your tools just like you would if the live environment was up. It's just read only. Okay. So think of in the ED, I have a patient who's walked in, but we're down. I want to at least be able to look at their medical history. I can pull up SRO and I can see that in chart review. I'm not going to be able to arrive them to the ED in the system. I write that down on my paper, right? But I can go in and look at their medical history. Questions about those 3 items? All right. BCA report content. So with the BCA topic being top of mind, a lot of questions have been brought to us about the content of the reports and what reports are out there. So I want to make it clear what's out there and why only certain information is out there. So everyone who takes care of a patient care is going to have a clinical summary. Those include a variety of orders: nursing orders, diet orders, lab orders, respiratory orders. Then you have an extended information report. That includes things like fall risk, PTA meds, medical history, surgical history, in I's and O's, care plans, and education. Medication administration records, so it also another report is a MAR. At the top of the slide, I say current patients. These reports are only active for patients who have an encounter with us now at the downtime. So if a patient comes into the ED during a downtime, you can't go pull BCA reports for them because they don't have an encounter in the system. BCA report content is pulling from the background of Epic and caching information every 10 minutes. So the reason why we don't have everything included within the chart in these reports is because that's a whole lot of data to cache every 10 minutes on all of our patients who are here in-house. For those patients who don't deal with admitted patients on a daily basis, you also have BCA reports for charges, for your department appointment reports, or census reports. Okay. What does it look like? So when you log into BCA Web, this is what it looks like. Your login department at the top right is going to populate. So if you're a med-surg nurse, these are your med-surg reports. If you look at the filter by report name, there's 3 boxes. Those are the 3 that I mentioned: MAR, extended information, and clinical summary. If I go here, this is what one of the reports looks like. Okay. Matt Peterson, you guys take care of admitted patients. When you log into a BCA device on med-surg, you're going to see rehab and wellness pop up. All you need to do is search med-surg in the department and unit, and then you can find the clinical information, MAR, and extended information on patients on that unit. You don't have to have access to that unit typically in order to find those reports. Questions do you have? Okay. That's it. Anyone else? AJ, want to come down? Thanks.
All right. Well, that's a pretty robust agenda to get through. So thanks for everyone's attention. Thanks for folks online. Only one unmuting incident. That was perfect. So announcements. Melissa, I bet you've got an announcement on scholarships.
Scholarship applications are still being accepted. Actually, I think we just got 7 in yesterday. So that last minute push.
Is upon us.
Yeah, Friday, they close at 5 o'clock on Fridays.
Okay.
So.
Very good. Okay. Other announcements.
We have one Department Pride nomination, and we are rounding out the quarter preparing for that. So if you have any departments that you would like to nominate, we would welcome some additional nominations.
Okay. Excellent. Anybody else? If not, Livia, welcome. You will carry on, I'm sure, in great fashion, the tradition of outstanding interns who get fantastic experience here at the medical center. So thanks for joining our team. Otherwise, we're adjourned. Thanks.